Good ladies and gentlemen, shalom, boker tov. As an Italian, the last problem I have is the number of suits in my wardrobe. But as I'm in Tel Aviv, I try to adapt to the fashion style of the city. I have to say that I arrived a couple of days ago in Tel Aviv, and I immediately get the feeling that being at home, because this city reminds me so much Barcelona, the city where I lived the last couple of years. I think we have so much in common. Of course, the weather, the colors, the beach. But I think, and I could prove that staying here like 48 hours, I think we share the same spirit of innovating, especially when it comes to everything that is new in terms of technology. Barcelona also is known for its more than 300 sunny days, for tapas, for football. I've learned a lot of people are fans of our football team. But maybe you don't know that Barcelona, in the meantime, in the last 10 years, developed into one of the most dynamic new economy hubs in Europe, capable of attracting promising startups and sharp-minded entrepreneurs from across the globe. We also have, I would say, a strong academic background and infrastructure. We have 15 universities in the cities. Barcelona has two of the world best-ranked business schools, that are IESE and ESADE. And Barcelona also has 10 of the top leading startup accelerators in Europe, without forgetting, and I'm sure that a lot of people have visited those kind of events, we have the Mobile World Congress in March and the Smart City Expo in November, which are considered amongst the most important fairs in their respective sector. And now all this makes it the perfect environment for us to push the envelope. And I think this is good, obviously, because Barcelona is the city of SEAT. Now that I have done a little bit of advertising for Barcelona, I think we need that in this time because, there have been some kind of, let's say, issues in the last weeks, and so people are kind of refraining from coming. I invite everybody to come to Barcelona. Everything is okay. Let's talk about what we have in common. Barcelona and Tel Aviv share, I think, the same young, entrepreneurial, technological, innovative spirit, as I said. Both cities twinned by the restless entrepreneurial character and are both 100% Mediterranean cities with their DNA. They are benchmarks in the push towards the digital transformation and have known how to rise up as cities and hubs of reference on the globe. To be precise, I learned that up to 5,000 startups operate in Israel. I think 2,700 in Tel Aviv. We have more than 1,000, and this number is growing every week, every month. And what's more important is that Barcelona dominates investment in startups in Spain with more than 60% of the total, according to a report published by the Mobile World Capita Barcelona institution. Tel Aviv, as we have the Mobile World Congress, you have the DLD Innovation Festival, very important event. This is a very important event, the one we are here today. Tel Aviv, for example, hosts also the 4 years from now. This is an entrepreneurs platform created in Barcelona, which is a proof for me of how the cooperation between us could perfectly work. There are many companies and many professionals that from Tel Aviv are active in the growing entrepreneurial ecosystem of Barcelona. And this is good, and we welcome all of them with enthusiasm. SEAT didn't want to be left behind and actively participates in the innovation clusters that are emerging every day in our town. For instance, we opened what we call the Metropolis Lab. It's a lab which is wholly owned by SEAT and integrated in the Volkswagen Group worldwide network of IT labs in Berlin, Munich, San Francisco, and of course Wolfsburg. And this lab plays a fundamental role to develop service solutions around urban mobility. SEAT is also involved in initiatives such, for example, what we call CarNet. This is the only cooperation between private companies and academic research centers that focuses on developing mobility models and infrastructure. We look with admiration and interest at what is happening here, not only because we are close geographically, but also because Israel is one of the most important markets for SEAT. It is our 11th largest market worldwide. So if we were talking about football, Israel would be in the starting lineup of the team. Allow me to give you some snapshots of what our company is today. SEAT is Spain's only full-fledged automotive brand. We are one of the biggest industrial companies, one of the biggest company in Catalonia, and we are the brand that put the country on wheels 60 years ago. We represent 1% of Spain's GDP and 3% of total exports across industries. In fact, we export more than 80% of our production. In 2016, the company made a profit after many years of 143 million. This was the highest in the history of the brand, selling nearly 410,000 cars. In fact, we are in the middle of our biggest product offensive in our history, and the company, and we are the brand with the fastest growth in the European market. SEAT creates directly or indirectly enough jobs to fill 10 times the capacity of the Menorah Mivtakim Arena, Maccabi Stadium, so around 100,000 jobs. We see ourselves as a young-spirited and Mediterranean brand, and we want to become the champion in connected car. We look at the future and our future and the future of automobile, I would say, with a smile. There are many things happening around us, but as you know, 4 fundamental megatrends are forcing our sector into what I would define as some kind of a reset phase. New regulations, new technologies, and new revenue pools to be conquered. We think it is an opportunity for a compact, agile organization like ours, a company that has much more to win than to lose from the upcoming and unavoidable transformation of our sector. Obviously, if we do it right. We have maybe not unlimited budget like a lot of startups that are here in the room, but as we like to say, we have the privilege to be focused. And I can tell you, we are. We have chosen our battles, and as I will tell you in a few minutes. What I would like to do now, and what I can afford today, is maybe to give my personal opinion on how these new phenomena will develop, and share the way we are planning to engage in each one of them. And I will start with electrification. Look, critical mass market demand of electric cars, that means 2-digit mixes in the market, will be there when technology will not force the customer to make any compromise in user experience from the one they used to have today. That means 500 kilometers plus range, charging time no longer than a lunch break, with the cost of ownership below the 2-digit difference to traditional technology. Before then, and don't ask me precisely when, it will come and grow, pushed by regulation and if supported by proper investment in infrastructure. I myself own an electric car, both in Barcelona and in Milano, my city. My home in Milano is right in the middle of the city, and when I drive there, I only drive in the city, intramuros as we say, because if I go out of the city, I'm afraid of not being able to get back in the evening. And after a fierce battle with the building administration that has forbidden me from installing a charger in the common underground parking, I am constantly planning how to adapt my movements in order to use one of the 2 public charging points available at a distance of 1 kilometer from home. I pray that none of my neighbors has the same funny idea of buying an electric car, because then I will have to share my agenda with him in Outlook. And all of this is happening in the city center of Milano, one of the most modern cities in Europe. So when people buy something new, they expect this thing to be better than the old one. That's the simple rule I never try to forget. Will SEAT have electric cars? Of course we will. The good news is, unlike many comparable brands in the industry, we have full access to the Volkswagen Group's technology. It means we can do it, and we can afford, and structurally, that puts us in a good position to seize the trend. And with that in mind, I would also like to respond to what the minister said earlier. I think it's a great thing that this Congress is talking about smart mobility. It's also including the issue of alternative fuels. I think there is an opportunity of looking at the whole story of the emission, not only from the hardware side, like the industry would naturally do, but also look at the problem from the fuel sides. We think that natural gas and synthetic fuels are also part of the solution, so we are very interested in understanding who is working on such kind of topic. Natural gas is good for the economy here, for the trade balance, is good for the environment, is also good for the wallet, and I think it's a strong argument in this country. And we propose ourselves as one of the brands that could open an alternative to the Israeli drivers with natural gas and all synthetic fuels. Now, the second mega trend is the autonomous driving. On that one, I can see clearly the business case for premium brands and suppliers as a result of adding additional sophisticated and expensive technology to the cars. I personally can understand the business case for road transport, trains or heavy truck driving one after the other. It makes perfect sense from a safety perspective for drivers on the road 8 hours every day, and also because it would be more CO2 friendly. That means less consumption and less cost. I can also imagine the benefit of this technology for micro personal and goods transportation, the so-called robotaxi, in a controlled environment on predefined path, a kind of niche between buses and taxi. But to imagine the desire for people to cross a city center in the rush hour with the vehicle they can control, for the time being, I still have some problem. Like, for example, in Roma, another Italian city I know, I would say it is at least debatable. What is sure is that the guy who invents the algorithm to cross the center of Rome at 6:30 p.m. in the afternoon without touching the steering wheel will certainly get the Nobel Prize in physics, and probably will be an Israeli. For us, the question is not whether we could do it or not, or whether we can afford it. We can, for the same reason I mentioned for electrification, access to group technology, and the group is investing a lot in that. The question is whether a very price-sensitive customer like the ones of SEAT will want to pay for a technology that will be expensive in sales and after sales. So our conclusion is that we will probably go first for the function that have the highest benefit to cost ratio, for example, the safety-related ones. The third disruption is the connected car. This is definitely the topic for me. This is the move from the iPod to the iPhone. Cars will continue to have 4 wheels and maybe a steering wheel, but they will be part of a larger ecosystem. The car, as I like to say, gets bigger than the car. If we can connect the car to the user, to the retailer, to the infrastructure, and to all of them to each other, then I see a business opportunity for sure. How much and who will take advantage of it, I think is still open. Other industries, newcomers, us, I really don't know. But that's why the connected car is the priority at SEAT, both in our business and technological roadmap. That's why we are here in Tel Aviv. We have one of the youngest customer base, not the youngest customer base of any brands in Europe. Therefore, they are more connected and more used to consume digitally. We need to provide affordable and easy solution for people to enjoy the potential benefits of this new technology. This is the main reason we think why companies like Google and Apple are getting into the car business as well. The good news is that all these big companies also recognize that an automobile is not just the last vestige of the old economy, as someone was trying to convince us a few years ago, but the cars would be a big, important part of the Internet of Things. Nobody knows how to make cars like we do. I think we all agree on this. But the challenge is to go beyond, think platform in another manner, not only physical platform, and focus on creating an ecosystem of mobility and services around the product in which people will want to be part of. In other words, by creating the soft shell around, we are going to protect the hardware, the cars and the brands, before, obviously, someone else does it for us, like maybe, I don't know, Microsoft to IBM personal computer division. I'm sure you understand what I mean. For car makers, the connected car is, in our opinion, just not another technology. We are not talking about the next level of the game. We are talking about another kind of game. SEAT ambition is to become a front runner in the connected car. In this last month, we have reached agreements that show we are moving in the right direction. For example, we have an agreement with a company you know very well, which is Waze, to integrate for the first time Waze new app for Android Auto in all SEAT cars equipped with the navigation system. Or the agreement we recently had with Amazon, which make us the first European car maker to integrate Alexa as an interactive voice service in our cars. In this way, SEAT has made progress in its offer of connectivity technologies to facilitate mobility and enhance the driving experience. And directly related to the connected car, we find the fourth megatrend, the new mobility services, and of course, including things like car sharing, ride hailing, and all the rest. The movement of people, we all know that, is the very essence of freedom and liberty. It shapes our way of life, and it is vital for our prosperity. Without individual mobility, economic growth is not simply possible. The requirements of big cities demand mobility solutions that were unthinkable a few years ago, such as by-the-minute rental cars, private-owned cars, or maybe even robotaxi. If we bear in mind that at the present rate, in 2050, there will be more than 2 billion vehicles on the planet. This is more than double of the amount today. We can envision that the ownership of, or the sheer ownership of cars will move on to a better life. Many cars will become a shared asset of, or a transport service in which the user pay for each trip rather than for the vehicle, thus freeing themselves from the associated expenses to choose other forms of freedom, like those that the smartphone with its contents connection to the world has provided. The car sharing, the car pooling, the multimodal, the ride-hailing, will become, we think, relatively mainstream. They might reduce pollution, they might reduce the number of cars in circulation, accidents, and the need for parking spaces. The use of assets will be much more efficient in a world connected with those kind of services, but only, and I repeat, only, when the car park will achieve the necessary critical mass. I believe that this kind of innovation and technology are an opportunity for us at SEAT because, as I already say, our customers on average are the youngest in the sector. So we have a natural motivation to develop such kind of technology. Barcelona, our home city, and Tel Aviv are two of the smartest cities in the world and the perfect playground to test the connected car and the ecosystem around it. And I'm sure that the technological skills of Tel Aviv can and must play a relevant part in the development of these technologies, as well as a space for development and creation for the ecosystem of our company. In this sense, I would like to announce that SEAT and Champions Motor, our longtime partner in Israel, will cooperate here, creating a joint team of specialists named Explora in order to detect new technologies and services with special focus on user interface, infotainment, new mobility services, and additional services around the connected car. The goal of Explora, which is going to be headquartered in Tel Aviv, will be to encourage relation with local mobility-related startups and players and identifying innovative projects that could lead to future solutions and business models for SEAT. And having the opportunity to launch this project in Israel makes it a strategic location for us. So we think there is no better place to launch an initiative of this kind here, and an initiative of this kind with such kind of partners and stakeholders. And I would like to take the advantage of me being on stage to do something a little bit surprising, because one of the members of the team of the Allied Group and Champions Motor is Joram Turbovic, who is today celebrating his anniversary. So what I'd like you to do is, and help me, because is to wish him, happy birthday, and we can even sing it. I'm not good at singing, but maybe you can help me. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday dear Joram, happy birthday to you. I think we've managed to organize the biggest shared birthday wishes in your whole life, at least, for sure. So Joram will be then moderating, I think, the next panel. So to finish, I would like to invoke a Hebrew word much used by the entrepreneurs here of this country, and is chutzpah, is the feeling that I can do something even when I'm told I can't. A concept that fits perfectly to cities like Barcelona and Tel Aviv, and also to SEAT. Thanks for listening, and late out.